Israel has hit Iranian government sites in Tehran, including the notorious Evin prison. Iranian missiles also finding their way to Israel. As for the American strikes, damage assessment is underway now, but it does look like the attacks were highly effective. Stay alert. Don't let down your guard. The State Department's advice to Americans, as well as U.S. interests abroad, there is concern about the potential for retaliation from Iran. More than 190 million Americans across the country in the grip of an extreme heat wave spreading from the Midwest all the way to the Northeast. On Wall Street, the Dow is up 164 points. This is SRN News.
Hey, it's Mike Rohn. If I have a choice, I like to do business with companies that actually stand for something. That's why I switched from Verizon to Pure Talk. No offense to Verizon, I'm sure they stand for something. I just don't know what it is. Pure Talk, on the other hand, is a veteran-owned company that supports our military in a big way, and I appreciate that. Yeah, I also appreciate unlimited talk and text and plenty of data for half the cost of the big guys, and I do like being on America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is no contract, no cancellation fees, and Pure Talk's commitment to handle all their customer service in this country. I saw it for myself. I went to Georgia, I got a tour of their headquarters, I met their CEO, and I talked to the same customer service folks that you'll talk to when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Switch today and save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword micro. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
The following program is a paid advertisement and does not necessarily represent the views, opinions, or endorsements of Signal Hill Media Partners, its affiliate stations, or its advertisers. Welcome to Taking Care of NC, the program dedicated to exploring the issues, opportunities, and challenges shaping the great state of North Carolina. Join your host, Representative Jeff McNeely, as he delves into meaningful discussions about politics, community initiatives, and the people working to make a difference. Whether it's tackling local concerns, highlighting state achievements, or addressing pressing legislative matters, this show is your go-to source for understanding how North Carolina is growing and thriving. Stay tuned as we kick off another insightful episode of Taking Care of NC.
Good morning, North Carolina. Hope everybody out there is doing well. It's hot. I don't know what to tell you. It's going to be like this for a while now. This has nothing to do with climate change. It's called June in North Carolina. Get used to it if you haven't been here long. It gets hotter too. Trust me, the humidity goes up to about 1,000%. Right now, it's only in the 900s. It's not too bad. So anyway, hey, got a great show today. Going to have Sam Hayes, the new director of the North Carolina State Board of Elections. Going to be calling in here about any time now, we hope, and talk to us about some of the things going on with it. Hey, I know people say, hey, there's no elections happening. No, elections happening all the time. We're just voting some of the time. Trust me, there's a lot to be done. And we had a quite eventful weekend. We'll get into that second half of the show. One thing I do want to mention coming up this Saturday, Troutman's 4th of July parade. It's a little early, the 28th, but it's coming. So right after that, 12 to 3 over at Troutman ESC Park. That's kind of right behind Town Hall there off the main street. Gonna have a big patriotic celebration. A lot of different people are going to come and speak, politicians and community leaders, and have free hamburgers and hot dogs. So people say there's nothing free in this world. This might be as close as it is, folks, right here. So come on out for hamburgers, hot dogs, all the fixings, and join the Republican men's group as they're ones cooking up the food, and come out and enjoy freedom, enjoy America. Look forward to that. Sam on the line yet? Not yet. All right, he'll be calling in. We hope anytime. If not, I may have to hit him here and make sure he gives us a shout in. Let's see if we can put this here together. Oh, wait. Do we got him? He might have been listening. He was. Hey, this is Representative Jeff McNeely. Is this Sam?
Hey, Jeff, it is Sam.
Hey, Sam, how you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
Just a little bit. Doing great. How's things where you are? I guess you're in Raleigh right now. Is that where we're at?
I am in Raleigh, anxiously awaiting my budget.
Aren't we all?
Yeah, Aren't we all?
Don't sit out in the sun waiting for this. You could get blistered. I'm just saying.
Don't worry. Of course, I can't do much without it, though.
That's right. Well, folks, I want to introduce y'all to Sam Hayes. I like to refer to Sam as the lawyer's lawyer because he's been the chief counsel for my past speaker, Tim Moore, and now for my present speaker, Destin Hall, until he accepted the director's position at the North Carolina State Board of Elections. So, Sam, tell us a little bit about who is now running our State Board of Elections. Who are you?
Well, as you mentioned, I'm an attorney with about 25 years of experience. A lot of that spent in private practice in Washington, D.C. as a commercial litigator. But the last almost 11 years spent in state government as general counsel in the McCory administration for the Department of Environmental Quality, then general counsel for the state treasurer, before having a brief run for attorney general myself in the 2020 primary, and then serving as general counsel for both Speaker Moore and Speaker Hall. And now I find myself here as the director of the State Board of Elections.
Well, I tell you what, I don't think we could have put it in a set of better hands. When I first heard this, I was thrilled. Y'all, I have known.
Well, thank you.
I have known Sam now for, I guess, close to about 6 years. Got to know him. I find him to be very articulate, a lot more than me. Very thorough, very, very well thought. The process that you go through. I have brought Sam quite a few, many different ideas. He shot most of them down, and rightfully so, probably. He told me the issues with the constitutionality of them and a lot of other things. Sounded good to an old farm boy, but obviously, I need help. So Sam, very knowledgeable, very wise. Let me ask you one thing so I don't get out of bounds with you. Can we talk anything about the federal lawsuit, or do we need to stay away from that since that got filed?
No, we can certainly talk about that.
Okay, good, because that's part of the whole deal. That's kind of the whole deal to a point. There's been a lawsuit ongoing, just dropped by Jefferson Griffith, but there's been other lawsuits in the background ongoing also. And one of them was from the Federal Department of Justice, who has filed a lawsuit now against the North Carolina State Board of Elections for failure to clean their voters' roll, which is basically kind of the argument that Jefferson Griffith had after the contentious race for Supreme Court, North Carolina Supreme Court against Allison Griggs. Let us know what's going to happen in this federal case now that we have somebody that wants to kind of cooperate. How's this going to go, Sam? What do you see?
Well, I have had very good conversations with the Department of Justice, the voting rights section. I have laid out a plan in broad strokes to go back and capture the missing HAVA information on these registrations. The driver's license number, or if you don't have a driver's license number, last four of your Social Security number, because that's what HAVA, or the Help America Vote Act, commands. And that's really what the Justice Department is asking us to do here. And so I see us as being aligned. That's what I said I was going to do when I got here. The complaint was filed shortly after I arrived, but as I have said many times, I don't need a lawsuit to tell me what's right. So we seem to be on the same page. So I'm going to lay out a more detailed plan tomorrow at our first in-person state board meeting. Hopefully that plan will be ratified by our board, and then we're going to go forward with reaching out to these voters and trying to get them to voluntarily provide us with this information where we haven't been able to collect it on our own.
All right. Now, you mentioned the state board, and I remember the bill, but I'm trying to remember the makeup. Is it still 5 people on it, or is it 2 and 2, and you're one of the votes now? How does the state board set up now?
No, it is the 3 and 2.
Okay, so still that
from each of the major parties. Yes, the state auditor now under Senate Bill 382, the state auditor now appoints the State Board of Elections. He has made his appointments based on the recommendation of the parties, and so we now have 3 Republicans. The chair is Francis DeLuca. We have one holdover Republican, that's For Eggers. And then we have 2 Democratic members, Siobhan Millen and Jeff Carmen, who were both on the board previously.
Okay.
And the board appoints the executive director, which is myself.
Okay. All right. So we've gone from a 3-2 Democrat to a 3-2 Republican board, and now we have
Correct.
somebody that is not got any political issues, and yourself as director, somebody that's going to be the referee and actually play the middle, which is going to be amazing.
Right.
Amazing. Well, we had I debated on whether to name her or not, but we about got to. We had Karen Brinson Bell as our director for the last little while, and had her before the Government Operations Committee that I serve on quite a few times. And every time it was a lot of double entendre, lot of kind of disinformation. Never quite giving you the full story. One time I actually sat there and debated whether to just call her a dadgum liar or not, because what she told me, me and her both knew was a lie, as far as where the data come from for the 220 some thousand plus people that don't have complete registrations. We got it from them, from her department. So this is going to be a breath of fresh air, I think. But you have a lot of work to do over there, Sam.
No doubt. My first priority, like you mentioned, Jeff, is going back and collecting this information that, quite frankly, should have been collected a long time ago. There was a registration form many years ago that was sent to voters that did not make it clear to them that the driver's license number, last 4 of Social Security number, were required by HAVA. So, many voters like myself don't like to provide that information if they're not compelled to. So they probably opted not to. And that's really why we don't have it to this day, really through no fault of their own. But we still have a duty under the law to go back and collect it. And that's what I said I'm going to do. And that is what I'm going to do.
Well, now, and speaking of lawsuits, one just got settled by the 3-panel judge. I guess maybe that was the Superior Court, probably moved forward some more, but where the Democrats, basically Roy Cooper and Josh Stein, sued the NCGA for making this decision to remove it from under the executive branch, the governor's branch, to the state auditor's office. And the 3 judges ruled in favor of moving it to the state auditors. Can you speak on that, or that's going to be appealed and we can't talk about that? I know things are tricky when it comes to the court.
Certainly, and that appeal is underway. I'll just say this: the 3-judge panel granted summary judgment to the legislative defendants. I defended that case when I was with the speaker.
That'll be handy.
And now that is before the Court of Appeals, the 3-judge panel there. Again, legislative defendants have gotten some favorable rulings out of the Court of Appeals. The Supreme Court has not stepped in to take it up yet. It's still making its way through the Court of Appeals, but that's where we are right now.
But now, truly, the Court of Appeals should look at the process of how the trial and the judgment was rendered, and only really speak to that. And a Court of Appeals really can't speak to the merits of the case so much as they can to how the procedure was done. Is that right, or am I wrong?
Well, there's no issue of fact. It's all an issue of law.
Right.
Did the legislature have the authority to move the Board of Elections under the state auditor under the Constitution? And at the legislature, when I was general counsel to the speaker, we argued, in fact, it is the purview of the General Assembly to do that, because the Constitution does not speak to the individual agencies in the Council of State or the Council of State members and their powers, those are left to be assigned by statute by the General Assembly, and it is within their purview to assign those duties and to move boards, commissions, and even agencies among the Council of State members, recognizing that the governor is the chief executive, but he is not the unitary executive. That power is shared and distributed among the Council of State members.
Well, and I think it helps us if history, if I understand my history and serves me right, at one time for forever, I think, or as long as I could remember, it fell under the auditor's office under Thad Urey way back in the 70s. Is that not true?
Well, that would have been the Secretary of State.
Secretary of State, excuse me. Okay, so it hasn't always been under the governor's purview.
That may be correct. I am not sure, Jeff, if that's the case. It's my recollection that in its current form, it has been under the governor until recently.
Yeah. Well, if you go back and look, I'm pretty sure, because I did a little research on it, that it has not always been, and at one time, even under the lieutenant governor's purview, and then the governor. And all this was when the legislator kind of followed their savior, Jim Hunt, through his progression to the governor's office, giving him all kind of latitudes. And then after he left the lieutenant governor's post, they took away all of Jimmy Green's abilities once he got elected. So kind of interesting how this works. So as the old saying
well, I
goes,
will say this.
Not new ground.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I will say this. Other states do things differently. Under a number of other states, the Board of Elections is housed with the Secretary of State. We are the only one where it is housed administratively with the state auditor's office and where he makes the appointments. But again, North Carolina is unique in our Constitution. It gives such broad authority to the General Assembly as representatives of the people. So it is within their purview based on North Carolina's Constitution.
Well, I think we put it in the right place. I think your auditor's the one, in my opinion, I feel like we put it in. Your auditor's the one that's going to be the one that has to verify, check, make sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. And so I think this is going to work out well. And like I said, hey, we could end up with a Democrat auditor next time. I get all that, but we finally, I feel like, have it away from where the most political fever is to a lower pitch, and our elections should be non-controversial, in my opinion. It's cut and dried. You voted this way, you voted that way. Not all this other stuff we've allowed to come in, and the way people can register and all this. We need to get it a little bit more accurate, a little more streamlined.
Well, that's right. And let me just assure your listeners here that I put partisanship aside. I'm going to follow the law as it's written, and I'm going to follow the spirit of the law. The General Assembly writes the laws, and we follow them here. My goals are election security and voter access, and they are two sides of the same coin. Mm-hmm. They are not mutually exclusive, and I think photo voter ID is a wonderful example of that. Yep. It instills confidence in our elections. At the same time, it doesn't prevent anyone from voting. Everyone is entitled to obtain an ID and who is legally allowed to vote, who is a citizen of this country, is of age, who is registered to vote, lawfully registered to vote, can vote, and they can obtain an ID to do it. But it instills confidence in our elections, does not bar the door to anyone. And so I believe that we can accomplish that for elections in North Carolina by just following the law, calling balls and strikes, and that's it.
Well, that's all I want. Let me ask you this. What are some of the things, I know you're just in the door and it's new, but have you found some things that are other than the 200 some thousand incomplete registrations? Have you found some other things that are troubling that you just don't think was the way that business should have been ran over there? Have you seen anything in that?
Well, we're still in the process. Again, Jeff, I've only been here for a month. We're still in the process of taking a deep dive into the operations here and looking at what everyone in this building does. And when the time is right, when we get past this board meeting tomorrow, and hopefully the auditor wraps up his work with the DMV, I know that's taken a lot of his time. I'm going to be calling for a complete audit, top to bottom, of this agency, and so hopefully we can accomplish that here in short order. But I will say also that one of my biggest priorities is replacing our aging legacy election management system, which is known as SEAMS. That was implemented back in the late 90s, early 2000s. It is at least 30 years old, I believe now, or certainly approaching 30 years. And so it really needs to be replaced. And so we're in the process of talking to other states, looking at their processes, looking at the systems that they use. I was down in Florida a couple of weeks ago with the auditor, Dave Bullock. We talked with the Leon County supervisor of elections, gave us a wonderful tour of his facility there, showed us his processes. They have a terrific post-election audit that they conduct in Leon County, whereby they use a completely different system, completely different tabulators, and then they compare the results with the original count. And they have all their ballots digitized. They have the paper backups, of course, but they have their ballots digitized so they can call them up and they can look at them for any discrepancies between the two counts. The public is watching, so it's a very transparent process. And so, and another thing about Florida is they get their votes counted by election night.
Quick.
They are counting on a rolling basis leading up to the election, their early votes, absentees. They are ready to hit that button on election night and report out. And then they have this terrific pre-certification audit. So that's something the auditor has talked about that he wants to implement in North Carolina. I'm completely on board with that because I think that will go, again, a long way toward instilling confidence in the security of our elections. And I'll say again, I was so impressed by the Democratic supervisor of elections in Leon County, Mark Early, talking about election security, working hand in hand with the Secretary of State's office, the Republican Cord Bird there and his elections director. And, they went from 2,000 hanging chads, to being a national laughingstock to now being best in class. And I think we have a lot to learn there.
Well, it's funny. I like I said, I've watched Florida just turn it completely around. They went from being the chaos to being the gold standard. And but yet we still have the same problems in Atlanta, Fulton County, and Maricopa County, Arizona, and Philadelphia, Chicago. The same culprits on the other side of the equation don't want to get it any better. So I just don't want us. I want North Carolina to be like Florida. I want us to be the gold standard. I felt like in the last election or two, there's been some things that have come up that we knew weren't right. Like we told Karen Brinson Bell that about the 200 and some thousand people, that was before the primary. They made no effort at all to fix the problem. No effort, which told me they like the problem. They want to keep it. That's what that tells me. So when I hear stuff like that and see no action at all, that makes me think, well, okay, what's up? Something's not right here. You would fix this. Both sides should want that fixed, Democrat or Republican. Everybody should want that fixed because one side can cheat just as easy as the other. Why would we? So I don't know.
I want it fixed, Jeff. I've made it a priority because it's the law. And again, I'm going to follow the law whether it's set here in Raleigh or whether it's set in Washington, D.C., both state and federal law. I'm going to follow it. And hopefully there's going to be no question after that.
Well, let me ask you this. What you've talked a little bit about some of the things you want to do. We're going to update the computer. I have actually seen it over there at the Board of Elections. Folks, it is a blinking green dot. I've seen if that tells you anything. I remember seeing that back in the 90s when I was, computers first came out. We're still there. But what are some of the other things that we haven't talked about this morning that you feel like need to happen? One thing that I want, and that we can help with over in the General Assembly. And one thing I think we got to take a serious look at are these provisional ballots. They've increased dramatically just here in the last election or so. And I see another path of problem there.
Well, we have been talking with both the Senate and the House chairs about a number of different provisions there. Again, I leave it to their discretion. Y'all are the lawmakers. We're going to follow the law there. We have had a number of suggestions, but I'll just say this, Jeff. One thing that Florida, among many, one thing that they are doing right is that they are getting these ballots counted. And if we can be given some flexibility, knowing full well that there are going to be some votes hanging out there after election night, maybe absentee ballots that come in on election day, things of that nature, some provisionals like you pointed to, that won't get counted on election day. But if we can just have some flexibility on the front end to start counting these early ballots, to start counting the provisional ballots, so that come election night, we can hit a button, tabulate, and we can get those numbers in so that they're not coming in days and weeks later. I think when that happens, people start to question. They'll see one candidate in the lead, and then all of a sudden, all of these absentees, early votes start flooding in, and then that count flips, and then accusations start flying. I think the sooner you get these things counted and the results reported out, the greater confidence people will have in the outcome.
Well, I think John Q. Public and Joan Q. Public think, okay, we've got a machine. It's sitting there counting as it goes. This shouldn't be that hard. We almost tend to make it extremely difficult. And then they're going, if the machine's done it and it looks fairly accurate, they ought to be able to report something. Maybe they have to go back and do their check, but they ought to be able to report something. Instead, it's stalled. And I always love the counties where you see, 99 precincts out of 100 are reporting, but we can't confirm anything. It's almost, I always say it seems like elections a lot of times here in the last little bit in North Carolina is like playing a captain's choice golf tournament. That last team that comes in from out there playing, the first thing they always say, well, what's in? What's in so far? What's the lowest score in so far? What does that matter? Right. What did you shoot? But they always want to know that question first. So that's kind of, I think, how we become in North Carolina elections. Well, what's in? What we got to do to win? What we got to do to beat it? So
well, I want to give a shout out to our county boards and our county directors. They are working very hard. They do a thankless job for little money, oftentimes volunteering as the boards do. Some counties like Wake, Durham, Mecklenburg, have a lot of resources. Other counties, far west, far east, some of these more rural counties, they may have one or two people there at their elections board, and they operate on a shoestring. And again, very, very thankless job, and they work very hard, and it's very demanding when it comes to these elections. Certainly the general election can be very demanding. So certainly don't want to cast any aspersions there. It's just, I want to help provide the support, the guidance, the resources that these folks need to be successful, because our success here at the state level depends on them.
Well, I think with you in charge of this, I feel like that there's going to be a lot of
the guidance,
Yes, a lot of straightforward guidance. What we're going to do, and we're not going to deviate. We're not going to change. So I feel good about where we are, and I think it'll only get better.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your confidence in me. And like I said before, my North Star is the law, as the General Assembly writes it. So we are going to honor the letter and the spirit of law here. And no, we are not going to deviate from that where the law is clear.
Well, Sam, good luck over there. You can always call on us to give us whatever we need to do, the tools to make you successful. Let us know. Please let us know.
Absolutely.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you will.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Again, I appreciate your confidence in me, and I appreciate your support and the support of my colleagues in the House and certainly the Senate as well. I feel like everybody is on board, and I know it's been a tough session there with the budget, but I am still cautiously optimistic and am hopeful for the best. And like I said, it's nothing is more important than the right to vote in this country, and we want to run the best election process that we can in this state, and we want folks to have confidence in that process. So thank you very much for all you do.
Well, thank you, Sam. You have a great day. I'll be down in Raleigh. Probably see you here next week or so. So you take care. See ya.
Sounds great. Look forward to it, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, folks, stay tuned for the second part of the show. It's going to be really good.
We all want more for North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
We all play a role in keeping our community safe.
Every day, we move in and out of each other's busy lives.
It's easy to take for granted all the little moments that make up our everyday.
Some are good, others not so much.
But that's life.
It's when something doesn't seem quite right
that it's time to pay attention.
Because only you know what's not supposed to be in your everyday.
So protect your everyday.
If you see something suspicious, say something to local authorities.
Bravo, Brenda. You've always been a saver. Price matching your price matches. The self-proclaimed queen of extreme couponing. But this time, you've truly outdone yourself. By saving for this electric vehicle, you're locking in up to $1,000 a year in fuel and maintenance savings, which will leave you saying, cha-ching, every time you unplug. Good for your wallet, great for the planet. That's the power of EV. Sponsored by the NC Clean Energy Technology Center and the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters in cooperation with this station.
We all want more for North Carolina. More boundless views, more adventures in the outdoors, and more clean roads to get there. But to get more, we have to do less. Less littering, that is. Make it your nature to trash your trash and keep NC clean. And we'll all have more reasons to love North Carolina. Litter less, get more. For more on the 7 outdoor NC Leave No Trace principles, visit OutdoorNC.com. Sponsored by the North Carolina Association of Broadcasters and Visit North Carolina, a part of the Economic Development Partnership of North Carolina in cooperation with this station.
All right, folks, back here with the second half of the show. Got a lot to talk about. If anybody would like to call in, 704-873-9929. Love to hear from you. Kind of been a little bit of an exciting weekend. So this is interesting times. We just hope that our service men and women across the world are safe and nothing happens. But for anybody that was living under a rock the last couple of days and didn't hear about Operation Midnight Hammer, and tell you what, 125 aircraft in the air, used submarines. We used a little bit of everybody and everything.
It was great.
Amazing that they actually launched the B-52 bombers from Missouri.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Flew a 37-hour round-trip mission carrying these 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. And then they threw the Tomahawk missiles in from the submarines. And, you know, as the old saying, they knew we were coming, just didn't know when and never saw us.
That's it.
And for us to do this mission and no loss of life, as far as I know, no injury that I know of really. They maybe somebody got got hit by something or beat around or whatever, but that our people could go and do this, and we didn't have to worry about, or we worried, but we don't have any loss of life from our military personnel, and sent a definite message. And folks, this has been going on now for the last 30, 40 years. 1983, our Marines were killed in Beirut. They bombed a couple different embassies. If anybody doesn't think that Iran hasn't been the major issue in that region over there, well, then you really don't understand what has gone on for the last God knows how long, thousands and thousands of years, but especially the last 40 some. So this is going to be pretty interesting. 6 prior presidents have had to deal with Iran in some form, in some way. And I know all of y'all remember, well, no, you don't, because it's been a while.
Yeah.
But all of us that are old enough to remember, well, the hostages being in the embassy being taken hostage in Iran in 1979, I think it was, with President Jimmy Carter. And watched a botched rescue plan that never should have happened the way it did, and watched us basically get on our knees and beg for them to release our people. And then finally, after we got it done, just kind of said, okay, good for y'all. Thank you. Walk away. To me, that was one of the reasons Jimmy Carter did not get reelected. Just showed himself to be weak. And we've done this before. And so now President Trump, I think a lot of people get mad at him because he actually does what he says he's going to do.
Right.
And sadly, they're not used to politicians doing that. And so they're mad. People get mad at. I can't believe you would do that after you said you were going to. But Iran kept putting us off ever since he's got back in to this term. They have continually stalled us, sending lower level envoys to Geneva to chat, and meetings last 5 and 10 minutes, and you wait months to get them, and nothing really to talk about. And here's where I'm at. Anybody that believes that they were not trying to build a nuclear weapon, then why would you base your nuclear program underneath a mountain? I mean, if you're going to build a nuclear reactor to have cheap energy, good energy, I believe I'd do that right on top of the ground where it's the cheapest place to work.
Near a river.
Yeah, something. I do not believe that I would build it under a mountain. So anybody that believes that they weren't up to something, then tell me why we're doing that. And maybe somebody out there will say, oh, well, that way, in case something goes wrong, the mountain will protect it. No, it'll just blow the top off the mountain. Not only to get hit with radiated shock, but they'll get hit with lava and rock from it too.
Exactly right.
So,
well, I saw an interesting post, and I don't know that it's correct or not, but that Hillary or in that, maybe it was Bill who gave them uranium to begin with, and then Barack sent them $1.9 billion.
Yeah, that was supposedly because we didn't sell them some weapons. Now, why in the crap we had sold them weapons to start with? But it also happened to be the same time hostages were released.
Yeah.
That was ransom money that we paid, and people can vehemently deny it, but bull crap.
And then it was like, no, we're not going to make any atomic. We just promised not to make any bombs. And of course, we know where that landed.
Well, Hillary sat on a board of a company that Uranium One, that were the ones that were allowed to actually sell uranium to Iran. So, and then you had Barack paying them the ransom money. And then on top of that, you had Joe Biden just in the last 3 years release about $16 billion of their money that we had held as sanctions against them because they wouldn't allow us to come in and look at their nuclear program. And I'd like to get Ed on here, one of my fellow representatives from down at the coast, Ed Goodwin. He was CIA and he was Secret Service, and he was actually on the detachment that got to go over and inspect the Iranian nuclear facility. But here was the deal. We could go and inspect them at any time, but we had to give them at least a 2-week notice. And then they got to pick the places that we could go and look at. We couldn't say we wanted to go here. They said, no, you need to go there. Well, I'm going to tell you what, you can do a whole lot of stuff in 2 weeks, moving stuff around or whatever. So the whole thing was a joke. That's one of the reasons Trump pulled out of it in his first term. There was nothing to that deal brokered by Obama as far as us being able to look in on their nuclear program. It was almost comical. It was so pitifully designed. Whatever they said they would do, that's what we took.
Yeah.
They met no demands.
No.
We were just handed what they wanted us to have. You know, it's funny. And so now I hear all the Democrats that are saying, oh my gosh, he went against the was Grave Act. I can't remember what it is now, but anyway, where you have to have congressional approval to do anything. Well, Hillary in 2008 sat there and told how if she was ever president, she'd bomb them. So that's one out of the way. Who never made it. But Barack Obama probably used 100,000 bombs in his 2 terms on the areas, on Syria. I mean, you can just go down through it, Libya, Pakistan, Yemen, all them never got one bit of confirmation from Congress. 100,000 of them.
Yep.
Congress never authorized any of them. So, all right, what do we do there? Biden actually fired back at the Houthis in Syria, also, both of them, without any congressional. So, obviously, I think you're basically, I'm trying to think of the exact word I want to use here, but methinks you does complain too much. Yeah.
Yes.
The fervor of what they're saying makes no sense to me at all because it's very hypocritical, once again, of what actually went down. And like I said, if anybody wants to talk about this, 704-873-9929. But there is no way, if I were going to try to do any kind of a secret mission, and if you read the Art of War, first chapter, the element of surprise, we'd already told them we were coming. They just didn't know when. Thank goodness Israel knocked out pretty much all their abilities to detect a whole lot of different things as far as aviation and whatnot goes in, and bombs. But I mean, you got Rashid Tlaib of the squad, and you got Eliane Omar of the squad. These are both Muslims, which is fine if that's what they want to be, their religion. But I can tell you right now, there'll be no secrecy from Congress. So I don't know why you would say something if you're trying to keep our men and women from being harmed with taking away the ability to surprise. I watched Obama do this constantly, saying, okay, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to come from the West and we're going to attack you with this, this, and this, and tell everybody. And then we go and we usually pull off something, but we have casualties from it because we hung our men and women out to dry. The art is to get in, get out, have no casualties, do the mission you want, succeed. No loss of aircraft, no loss of human, no loss of anything. That's 100% gain. That's a good goal. That's what we did here. Who could not be proud of that? Our military showed a lot of might here. And this is, Billy, this is really important. Whole lot of people were watching.
Yes.
Whole lot of people. And I ain't talking about Americans. I'm talking about the Chinese. I'm talking about North Korea. I'm talking about Russia. I'm talking about all the bad actors that we work with against constantly. Were watching this to see what we were going to do. And I think they saw we have
the capability,
the most powerful, most, incredible military force presence on the face of this earth right now, that we could do 37-hour mission like that from Missouri, go and hit our target, make it back, refuel 3 times, the whole 9 yards, everything that went down. incredible.
It is incredible, and it is, and hats off and a big salute to all of our armed forces and soldiers and Navy personnel, everybody that had part of this. You couldn't have planned it any better.
Well, we've had issues where we've sent them in with 1 and 2 arms tied behind their back.
Yeah.
This time here, we said sick them. And I'm going to tell you what, I think what we've done here, and I'm sure there's going to probably be some level of retaliation from Iran. I think they might be making a bigger mistake retaliating than they did not having talks with us, because I think we will hit them back again and harder.
Well, I'm sure that before this started, that the plans were made to secure our airports and are even stronger than we already have been.
It's gonna be an interesting travel time, 4th of July.
Will be.
I'm
This
sure
is
that
true.
I'm sure that things are a little bit on high alert wherever you go, and that's fine. That's fine. Hey, stay home and celebrate in your community. Go eat hamburgers and hot dogs in Troutman. You don't have to travel.
That's right.
You don't have to travel. We don't have to go nowhere.
Do you think that a lot of the problems started? I can't remember which war it was, where the media was allowed to go with.
That's Vietnam.
Well, it was Vietnam, but then here recently, one of the Mideast, they were able to do live reports from the front lines. And I always thought that was a big mistake to do something live, because they were reporting back where they're going to be and where where
what's
we're
happening, who's there,
where we're going, and when we're going to be there, and all that. I don't think that was a very smart thing to do.
Well, and know this too. I also believe, I think Patton said it best: war is HELL.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not something that needs to be showed on the 6 o'clock news or whatever, as we were kids had, or now on CNN, which is 24 hours all day long.
Yeah.
If there's an objective to be had, then it's at all cost, and it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that having them on the front line not only endangers them, but it also endangers our troops, like I said, in what we do. And unfortunately, in this world of instant gratification that we have nowadays, everybody wants to be in the middle of everything and see it all, from YouTube videos to whatever. But I think some things need to be left alone.
Yes.
And let men and women go about their business of protecting us and keeping us free.
I agree.
I do believe this. I believe that nobody's going to mess with the United States, at least for the next couple of years. Of any size. We may have some issues. Terrorism is out there, always has been. Iran is the head of terrorism. So this will be interesting. I think the next step, and it's going to hurt a lot of people, everybody's going to say no, but I think the next step, if they retaliate, is to take a serious look at their energy business, the oil they supply and the different things, and to make sure that that's shut down.
Mm-hmm.
And then things will turn out probably a little bit different. I always say, if you can't get attention by hitting them in the head, kick them in the pocketbook. So we'll see.
That actually is first. That's right.
So, anybody wants to talk about that, that's fine. Call in. If not, hey, we're going to move on. But I am so proud to be always an American. But today, to me, yesterday, especially proud. Got to see what we got, and what we got is pretty daggum stout. So, our Governor Stein, vetoed his first 2 bills. He'd, been warming up his veto auto pen. Now he's got a stamp. He's been keeping it in the microwave. He hadn't used it, which kind of surprised me. He's played a pretty clean game, tried to be real strategic. But we sent him Senate Bill 50, which is the constitutional concealed carry bill. Right now, you can carry on your hip, open carry, anywhere, according to our Second Amendment rights. This would allow you to conceal carry without necessarily having the permit that you can acquire. I like the permit program. I pray it continues, even if this bill gets overridden. But this is, in my opinion, granted to you in the Constitution. So he vetoed it. We will see how this goes. We are one short in the House of having enough to be able to override a veto. We have 71 members that are Republicans that voted for this bill. We actually had a couple Republicans that didn't vote. I'm sure the pressure will be turned up. The reasoning for it didn't make a lot of sense to me, but hey, their vote is their vote. I don't question that. But we'll see how things go in there. But one of the bills that he did uh, veto was House Bill 5, which is once again another immigration bill. And people say, well, we're not a border state. Well, yes, we are, folks. We are a border state. Everywhere's a border state that people come and they enter the United States. One of the reasons North Carolina seems to be so popular for illegal immigrants is access to driver's license. Us in Nevada have two of the easier paths to be able to acquire a driver's license. Now it'll still look different. It'll still say they're not here, but they'll go get Uncle Hector's green card, and everybody seems to have the same ID. Next thing you know, different pictures. But and I've been working on this to make this a little tougher. We're trying to institute where if you've never had driver's education in any form and you come to North Carolina, you will have to take a driver's ed class and
Makes sense.
needs to be done.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of people that I think wonder, are they here legally and how they're driving and wondering if they understand our laws and how we go about the etiquette, especially riding 55 mile an hour in the 65 mile an hour fast lane on the interstate. I see this a lot, and maybe I'm just being real prejudiced and racist, but I wonder if they understand that there's two lanes and they should probably be in the one in the right, not in the left, impeding traffic. But anyway, actually heard from one of the Democrats on the floor get up and she said, I apologize for my sheriff not doing what he should do. But now she still ended up voting against this bill. But there's the problem. Mecklenburg, Wake, some of the others, Durham, Orange. I can name them out. It's the same usual suspects. Buncombe even will not hold these people. They, on average, will bail them out or let them post bond, get out faster than other people that commit the same crimes. And we're like, well, if you're going to do this, I guess let everybody out on the street at the same pace. But they don't. And so they've gone against this, and we've filed different bills, and we've even had to get more. They always pick it apart, so we have to go back and put down must instead of shall, and change these words so that you understand. You must hold these people 72 hours and inform ICE if they've committed a violent crime, and there's going to be a chance of any kind of bail. They need to be ICE needs to be alerted of the situation. They will come and they will examine the situation, figure out whether this person's flight risk, whatever. My question is, why are we even giving them bail? If they've committed a serious crime, and these are felony crimes that this bill attains to, why are we even giving them bail? We know they're a flight risk. They fled their own country. I'd be darned if they wouldn't flee ours. So there you go.
So these jurisdictions, these counties that say we are not going to listen to the federal government, we're going to
or the state
go around them, or the state government for that fact.
We're just not going to listen.
And can they not be held accountable?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's a process.
Yeah.
It's a process. And like I said, we have a blue governor, a red legislature, and there's a fight in the middle of this process of how it goes down. Department of Justice actually falls under the executive branch.
Oh, really? Okay.
Now when I say that, it has the attorney general, but in this case, they're very one-sided to each other.
Correct.
So it's not that the Department of Justice can't act independently. I just hadn't seen that in a while. Let's put it that way.
I got you.
All right. So there's kind of the issue. So these two bills both vetoed. We think that maybe we can get somebody to play with us and go with us to override the immigration bill. Not so sure on the constitutional concealed carry. This is a very hot topic. So we will see what happens here. There will be a lot of hand wrangling, and it looks like this might be our last full week that we will be in Raleigh for a little while till the budget negotiation gets better. So we're going to have to figure that out and then figure out when we can do this veto override, if possible. So a lot of interesting things going on. We're getting close down here to the end.
I will read you something though that Matt Ashbrenner, local guy, he was on the radio with us a couple of years back, but he was also one of the ringleaders for the airlift out at the Statesville Airport for Helene.
Yep.
And he just wrote back that he wanted to mention that you were one of the forklift drivers out at the hangar during Helene, and you did an awesome job.
Well, I appreciate that. I actually have forklift license because of our business, and so I
Who
felt.
knew you had to have a license to drive a forklift?
Hey, it's America. You just can't have anybody out there doing
I
this.
guess not.
So anyway,
So
I saw an opportunity and I had a skill set.
yeah,
So I applaud it and I appreciate it. But I was just like everybody else out there, just trying to do what was right.
that was a wonderful time where people were.
I hate it took the disaster
to
bring so many together to do good, but it did. And the good news is people did step up, all different, from all different backgrounds, ethnicities, whatever.
Yeah,
didn't matter.
Yeah,
we were all out there rowing the boat together. And that's what we do.
It was very good.
We get down here to the end. So this is crazy as it gets file. I do one of these about every week.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now, the question is to fish or not to fish. We had a bill leave the House, some of my fellow representatives, last year, wildlife canceled the flounder red snapper season. And they did it with data that I do not feel like was very well orchestrated or planned. Maybe it was well orchestrated, but not very, very valid. In the fact that they had continued to shorten the season for flounder and increase the length of catch at the same time. And they kept telling us that less fish are being caught this year. Less fish are being caught this year. Less fish are being caught this year, while shortening the season and increasing the length. So less fish could be kept, less time to catch. Yeah, maybe that's why there's less fish being caught. And their conclusion was we need to cancel the flounders and red snapper season last year. Completely. So they banned recreational, could not do it. So there you got the guys. And there's a lot of people here in Iredell County that go down and fish in the fall and catch. And, that's what they've done year and year. Some keep boats down there, some drag them down, however you want to do it. I've heard from a bunch. They sit on the bank and watch the other people, the commercial guys, fish while they could. So we instituted this bill that says we are going to have a flounder red snapper season this year. Sent it over to the Senate. The Senate actually interjected their part into it, and they interjected in a shrimp trawling ban for in the sounds, the estuaries, and also up to a half a mile off of the shore. So pushing the shrimp boats out of the sounds and off of the shore, a half a mile out into the ocean, which makes it a lot more difficult for them. A lot of their boats are not set up to be out in the ocean in those depths of water. And that has passed the Senate, as far as I know. It's tried, well, I don't know if it's completely come to the Senate, but it's passed through a couple committees and trying to make its way back to the House. And you want to talk about controversy. Now we've got a business that looks like, government's going to put private business out of business to a point. And this is really tough, y'all. There's a lot of what they call bycatch. And basically, when they're shrimping, they drag a chain in their nets on the bottom and they rev up the engines to stir up the water and everything, brings the shrimp off the bottom and they catch them. But they catch a lot of juvenile fish that tend to be grow out into the sounds before they head out to the ocean. That's just kind of like a little protective place Mother Nature has created. North Carolina is very unusual with their coastline and how it works, and we're getting down here to the end. But anyway, so now we've got this huge issue of whether we're going to be able to pass this bill to have a flounder season. And if we do, we'll have to take this shrimp ban out of it or leave it in or pass nothing and not have another flounder season. Interesting times.
It is.
Interesting times. Very controversial.
All
Very
right.
controversial. All right. We're going to go here. Dear Heavenly Father, dear Lord, I pray for wisdom. So many things are coming here to a head at one time. And I need your insight. I need your knowledge. I need all that you can give me, Lord, to make these wise decisions. Lord, I pray for our servicemen and women across the globe that you protect them, watch over us, keep us all safe, Lord. Do not let evil persist. Help us, dear Lord, be that guiding light to allow us to bring peace, even though it may be through strength. Be with us in Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Folks, until next week, take care.
Real Country is 550 AM WAME, 92.9 W225BD, Statesville.
WAME and Bunce Johnson Funeral Home are proud to present our national anthem, Bunce Johnson.